I got asked recently, like, what is my favorite film camera that I've purchased? And that was kind of a hard question to answer, but then I also realized that, like, there is one camera that I have taken almost everywhere. I would take this camera to the depths of Khazad-dûm to take a photo of a Balrog. It's a Lord of the Rings reference if you didn't know. But this is one camera that I feel like I take everywhere. I have taken everywhere, and I still will continue taking everywhere just because it's overall a great camera, and I've gotten such great images off of it. Also, if I haven't mentioned yet, it's a film camera, so let that kind of set the tone. I also drank the Sprite. Hold on, excuse me. Sorry, I don't know why I drink carbonated drinks. I always burp. Anyways, I'm talking about that Leica M6. I'm kind of just focus on there. Ooh, crazy. The Leica M6 is probably by far my most favorite camera. I hate playing favorites, but this one, it's always going to be with me. I'm going to take it everywhere I go. And the Leica M6 is also a very popular camera amongst film photographers. Like, I mean, the M6, the M7s, the M4s, the M2s, etc. The M series is just popular amongst all film photographers and regular photographers too. Like, it has a history. It was kind of introduced in the 1980s, I believe, and then in 2022, Leica did like a remaster version of this camera. So like it's I feel like it's one of those cameras that are just never really gonna leave, and that's okay with me. So, but it's just great. It's overall one of my favorite cameras. I use it for just not only just traveling, but like if I'm doing portraits, I'll use it. If I'm doing a little bit of street photography, I'll use it. I've done it for landscapes. I did it for a few wedding jobs, and oh my god, it's just the way people love how they come out. It just shows that like this camera overall is just amazing. I do want to kind of do like I guess you would say a review on this because I've had this camera for a year. I know the pros, I know the cons, I know how I kind of know the camera like already very well, the ins and outs and like what makes it so great. Overall, I kind of want to continue with the conversation of like what makes this camera so great. It's that like, the design itself separates it from other cameras. Like you when you see this camera, you know for a fact that that's a Leica camera. There are there are kind of like I guess you would say similar designs like the Minolta CLE, which is kind of has the nickname as the like the poor man's Leica. It was actually I believe it's a collaboration with Minolta and Leica. Don't really kind of take my word from this. This is my buddy Philip told me about that, and then he kind of me spreading his message. So I credit him for it. But this camera itself is just phenomenal. It has a history. It's everyone wants this camera, but I also feel like when some people do get this camera, they realize they don't want it, and that's usually because it's not an SLR. It's a rangefinder. Now, for those who don't know, a rangefinder is kind of like how do I put it? Rather than so like an SLR, the image goes through the lens, hits a mirror, and then goes directly up to the viewfinder. That's how you see an image. As for a rangefinder, it uses these two windows here. This is your viewfinder. This is your rangefinder. So the image goes through this window, hits a mirror, and then goes to the viewfinder. And in the viewfinder, you have a framed box. There are like these white lines that kind of show you, hey, this is what's in the frame. And then there's a white box, right rectangle box that's in the dead center. And that, I believe it's called the parallax. Yes, I want to say it's the parallax. And so what that is that it's a white box, and in that white box, there's two images. So if I was going to take a photo of someone, like who's in front of me, I would see like their eyes kind of, not their eyes, but like their face looks like there's like a mirror image almost. And so what you do is that with your lens, you obviously rotate to focus, do your different, obviously your different focal points. So you rotate until that image in that white little square lines up and creates a full image rather than two separate images. And so that's what a rangefinder is. It's not your normal SLR. It's not something I feel like, if you're not used to a rangefinder and you've always shot an SLR, it might be hard for you to change that because with an SLR, you know how the image is going to look like. You know what's in focus, what's not in focus. If you're shooting at, at an f1.4 or something like that, you know how the background's going to be blown out. Here, you're just seeing what the image looks like through this window, through the viewfinder. So that kind of gives a challenge, but it also allows you to like visualize what this image should look like when you develop it. So it's different. It's not normal. It makes it unique, and that's why that Leica M6 is very popular. It's because it's one of the very well known rangefinders. I feel like kind of does it right. Now that's my personal opinion. Others are going to argue, but it makes you enjoy rangefinders. Because I know when I first started shooting on this, I kind of didn't like it because I'm so used to an SLR. I'm so used to my digital camera where I can see how the image is being produced. This made me kind of really step out the box and kind of rethink how I'm going to capture this moment. How is it going to look? So I really had to now open my creativity, like the part of my brain where I'm creative. I had to expand it to be able to capture beautiful, amazing images. This camera is phenomenal. It's funny for it not being a digital camera because of its lens and the high quality they are and how much great glass it's put in there. You get these beautiful like images, kind of like it's like it has its own color profile, which I feel like you only find that in some digital cameras. But Leica was able to just do that with their film camera, and it's so amazing that they did that. I love it. I mean, these are some sample images that I took of, going to Japan, going to Iceland, few shots in Chicago, one shot in Oregon. Like, they're just, I don't know how to explain it, but they're just amazing. They're beautiful. And this camera I will never get rid of it. I will always take it with me. I will always have it wherever I go. Of course, I'm boasting about this camera. There's so many pros about it. The size itself is small enough, so if I'm doing street photography, I can take it with me. People think I'm just taking a photo of something, but in reality, I can easily take photos of them because with a rangefinder, you can do zone focusing. So like you set your lens to a certain focal distance based on the aperture you're using. And in that focal distance, your subject can be, a few feet away. You're going to capture it. So that's something else for completely different. But it allows you to be very nonchalant, very not out there where people are like, oh, look, there's a guy with a camera. Like, hope he doesn't take a photo of me because this camera's small. Even this 50 mil lens I have on there is small. And not only that, it's not loud. I mean, like, just like if you can hear it. Like, I'm pretty sure in a bustling city, if you're doing street photography there, you won't hear it compared to some of the cameras I have where they are really loud, like my RZ67. Another thing I like about it is it's built. I think the newer, like the 2022 Leicas are zinc design, like the metal parts. The older ones are made out of brass, but even so, it still has that like very strong, very like, if you drop it, nothing bad is going to happen. Obviously, you shouldn't drop it, but you just know that like, hey, this is built. It's built to last. It's built to do things. Also, sorry for the garbage guys outside. They're doing trash today, but not be a bother if I can kind of muffle the sound. Another pro about this is that like I feel like some cameras when you load them up, you can only get like between 30 to 36 shots. The way this cameras load, you can like not jigamaroo it, but you can make it where you can get almost 36 to 37 shots. And I've done that before. I've gotten 37 shots on this camera. The guy who develops my film even said, he's like, what camera do you use? Because I've never had anyone have 37 shots on their film camera. And then I told him I have a Leica M6, and then he goes, it makes sense because people have been able to do that. But this camera is phenomenal. I love the fact that like for the grip, not the grip, to adjust the film. I can use this as a thumb grip. So when I'm taking photos, if I need to take it real fast, I could, So that's what's amazing. Another thing amazing about it, the light meter here it's more accurate than the light meters I have in other film cameras. Not to say they're horrible, but I know that for some I have to adjust, I have to underexpose it or overexpose it because the light meter needs to be fixed. This one, the light meter in here is phenomenal. I love it. I can go on about the design and weight because this thing I can fit in my pocket, and I've had a moment where I did forget it was in my pocket because it is kind of light, even though it's built to like a tank pretty much. The lenses are amazing. The lenses are all primes. That'll be a con I can get into later, but the lenses are all primed. So you have 35, 24s, 90s, 135. They're all primed. So you're focused on using kind of almost one lens, but they're so small that let me show you. Kind of pull it out real quick. They're so small that I literally can fit them in my pocket. Like that's kind of like part of the reason why this is such a good camera just to carry around with you. Of course, with every good camera, there's a little bit of bad things. It's not a review if I'm not doing any cons. The first one, and it's kind of like, well, no, this camera is not cheap. This camera is not something you can easily get. This is beyond, and as this camera kind of gets popular, it goes beyond a standard price. I mean, this one itself was, past $2,000. It's not cheap. It's not affordable for everyone. So that's why this is kind of some people's dream camera to get, because it's like, hey, I know I work hard to get this. Another thing is, again, with that truck, I'm so sorry. The lenses are also expensive. Cause like for a camera, like for my Alpha 7R5, the body itself was about $3,500, I believe. And so you buy the body, and then sometimes the lenses can be $1,000, $800, $2,000. The lenses are roughly between $2,000 to $4,000. I've seen them go higher depending on what lenses they are, because they obviously every camera manufacturer has lenses that are like, for example, like Sony is a good example. Sony has their base standard lenses, they have their G lenses, and they have their G master lenses. Leica kind of has that almost similar, where there's like the aspherical, the summicron, etc. Another con, and this is just for me because I have a big ass hand. The body size kind of like makes it challenging because my hand's so big that I'm like gripping this. Because if I let my hand loose, this like kind of relax, it will fall off. There's no actual grip for my fingers to clip, so that's a problem. I think I but kind of dislike is the dial here. Is very small. So there's a Leica M6 TTL, which the dial's bigger for people who need to like adjust. So sometimes when I'm taking a photo, I actually have to pull away to adjust because I like don't know if I'm adjusting right or if I'm, if I can feel it. But to me personally, it's too small. Another con is just to rewind the film. It's this tiny little thing. This is for me personally because I have big hands. So I have to like literally like kind of do it. And this thing slips out of my hand because it's so small. Like if you can kind of see it. Let me see. So that's just one of the challenges. And I think the last con, because I don't want to make this camera seem like it's a horrible camera. It's so excellent, but the last con, and I feel like this is what makes people not want to buy it, is that it is a rangefinder. Rangefinders are not easy to get into, but they push you to challenge yourself to like how you're gonna use your imagination, how this image is gonna come out. I met people who've bought the Leica M6 and then returned it and never really picked up any other Leica models because they're like, I don't like rangefinders. Obviously, Leica Q series are not rangefinders, but if you do like an M11 or something like that, it still uses, it's a digital camera with a rangefinder. But I know people just don't like it, and I understand because when I was using it for the first few months, my images weren't coming out amazing, and like it was just hard for me to even be like, kind of be motivated to like, am I taking good photos? Did I just waste a bunch of money on this? But in the end, once I got better, once I kind of taught myself how to frame these images, how to do, how to understand, hey, if I'm shooting at f4.5, this is what's going to look like, and overall that challenge that I had became one of the biggest pros, because now I can I feel like every image I've taken on it allowed me to rethink how to take that image. So this camera is amazing. I know it's not for everyone. I also know it's very pricey, so it's not something you can just easily buy. But when you do, it's crazy good, and I love it so much. And I hope one day you guys can one of you, whoever's viewing this, picks one up and see how really great this is. But if you want any more kind of questions about this, definitely reach out, comment, ask anything about about this camera. Also like and subscribe. I'm starting to actually get in the flow of wanting to do these more. So definitely support me, kind of. But cool, yeah. I'm gonna actually load up roll film in this and go take some shots, because talking about it now, I kind of I gotta take these photos. So thank you for listening on and stuff, and hopefully I will see you guys soon. I'm also hungry, so I gotta eat some lunch. So cheers, later, guys.